Alright guys, good evening and happy Friday. We are coming back finally. It has been 2 weeks since we've been back, but it is finally time. I am Encore, and with me as always is KZA, and you are watching another edition of Beginner Breakdowns. KZA, how are you doing tonight? It's a hot summer day. Oop. Kinda lost you for a second. Hold on 1 second. Oop. Hold on. See, minute into the stream, we're already having technical difficulties. What else is new? Alright. Can you push to talk?
Yep. We good?
Yeah. Were you not holding down the push to talk at all?
I don't know what was going on.
Oh, well, whatever it was, we're good now. So,
yep, let's get on with it. Yeah, but, you know, for those of you who didn't get the day off, I'm sorry. Sucks. But, you know, you always gotta take advantage of what you have.
You talking about getting days off. There ain't no days off on Fridays. Hey, what do you even get a day off for? Like, is this for the 4th of July or something?
Yeah, well, more accurately, I just took the day off because half the office is missing because, you know, when you're already down to only 3 days in the week, a bunch of people just sort of vanish.
I had the same exact thing at the office I'm working at. It was like half the people decided to show up, and I'm an IT guy, so I'm just like, you know, I'm okay with this, but I'm also equally extremely bored, so literally my entire week from Wednesday to today was like, alright, Reddit, let's see what you got for me, because we're in this for the long haul. So, other than doing nothing at work, we have a pretty good show for you guys tonight. Actually, a really good show, because we need to get all y'all ready for EVO, because that is just a week away. And
especially
I know,
Encore over there, he's going.
Yeah, I know, I have to get ready. I actually just started playing Street Fighter V this past week, because, you know, I hear it's a good idea to actually play a little bit before these tournaments. I don't know if that actually works, but, you know, I'm one to experiment. I'll try it out. I don't know. I mean, I've heard people, it's like, oh no, I'll just go and dry. You know, I got this. When you take a 4-month break and then don't really go into something really prepared, some might say that's a problem, but, you know, I'm playing Balrog, so, you know, it's stand heavy kick, dash punch, repeat. No, I should make it to semifinals. You know, talking top 64 maybe. You know, if I throw in, you know, an overhead, use V skill a few times, top 8. What do you think? I don't know. Time will tell, but
it's doable. It's doable. I mean, speaking of, because of that very special case, we've got for you coming up first today a Balrog versus Ken match. Simply because everyone loves Balrog so much.
Yeah, all of our matchups that we got tonight are catered towards people that, or characters that people just love so much. You know, we got Balrogs, we got Lauras, we got Juris, we got Bisons, we just have everybody, all the lovable characters on the cast. So, before any more further ado, let's actually get into this. And as you can see, we have my favorite player, character, role model, Balrog, playing against Mr. Banana Hair here. Sorry. So, like, I already know who's gonna win this. But KZA, I hope you know who's gonna win this.
I mean, even if I didn't already know who was gonna win this, I still have to give it to Balrog no matter what. I mean, even if he doesn't win, because the difference between Ken and Balrog is they're both characters that are just famously just explosive damage. Like, they just, oh, it's I got a hit on you, I got EX bars, I got V trigger, here's half your health, it's gone. I'm just taking it. But the difference is that Ken has to pull some shenanigans to get there, and Balrog can just kind of do it.
Yeah, and that really depends because this Balrog can't use V-Trigger, and as we all know, Balrog's V-Trigger gives him just that huge comeback potential, and just in general, turns him into the human freight train. If this guy doesn't know how to use it, obviously that factor of this matchup is thrown out the door. But we're not going to know just by watching the versus screen. We're going to have to actually get into the match, which we'll be doing right now. Okay. Going down to on-field camera. Okay. Alright, Balrog. Don't let me down. It's already got some yellow strats going on right now, and it's pretty even so far.
Both are throwing out for some really stupid stuff that a better player probably would have punished, but, you know, you get away with it sometimes, you might as well keep getting away with it.
Yeah, we have a lot of unsafe play going on right now. Not a whole lot of defensive things going on, a lot of errant moves. Very good combo from this Ken here to get corner control, but already loses it. Ooh, bad version off that. And he gets that, but he doesn't get the full combo. Let's see if he can finish him off.
See, this is a situation that favors Ken. Ken wins a lot if you let him get away with unsafe stuff and you let him get into these scrambles where he's just throwing shit out and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Like, Balrogs don't necessarily have to play methodical, but they need a little bit more method than that.
Yeah, and with these, Ken isn't really a glass cannon, but a lot of the same cons of his playstyle exists as if he was one. And you can't just... You gotta punish those things, because if you don't, like you said, there's gonna be some issues. Not very good conversions off the crush counter, but nonetheless, got all the damage he needed, and video player, calm down. Okay. So, if video player wants to actually, look at the matches, thank you. Okay.
Oh man, that pause. Ken was like he was about to go, spoke up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Eyebrows are just on another planet right now. So, yeah, this Balrog won. He very much won. But I don't want to be the guy to say that he could have won sooner because that's just being really nitpicky. And I also don't want to say these guys are in silver and I could have done better, but there's more optimal play to be had, and since this is beginner breakdowns, we want you all to be able to play to the best of your ability. And getting to that point where you can play optimally, it's difficult to get there, but it's worth the time you put in. Because when you can get to the point where you can start doing a lot of these optimal plays, then like you see here, Ken was dropping a lot of stuff here. We can even go back the first round. Case in point, you see a lot of these moves just getting dropped, and I want to say it's about 15 seconds in, we see a lot of DPs going unpunished. This Ken actually does get a fair amount of offense in, but is just playing very erratically. He should have been dead about 15 seconds sooner than he was allowed to live.
Yeah, both guys aren't confirming their hits. They're not really getting all the damage they can when they get hits. They're failing their punishes. And what it just comes down to is that the Balrog, fails slightly less. And that's not a strategy you want to bet on, ever. Because that means the opponent gets all these chances. The fewer chances you give the other guy, the more you win. So when you get hits, you've got to be ready to convert them to damage.
Yeah, and it's a lot more apparent with Shotos because when you're punishing them, it's really easy for you to crush counter off a block DP. That's arguably the easiest counter in the game. especially in this one. And, you know, it's been true in a lot of other Street Fighter games, but the crush counter system, DPs are the easiest thing to counter. And as you progress, you'll find other things you can counter just on whiff punishes and the like and the like. But with Balrog, it's a little tougher to get a crush counter on him unless you just throw out an errant heavy attack or something like that. Until you just find things you can crush counter. But point is, these two guys are playing fairly similarly, very, very erratically, very counterable and very punishable. But this Ken just did a little bit more, and it was a lot more obvious, and this Balrog picked it up a lot sooner than this Ken, and that was the deciding factor, in my opinion, at least. KZA, what do you have to add on this?
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, they can do a similar amount of damage, like we said, so it just came down to who could get it first. One thing I want to say for our viewers is, you know, the kind of lesson of this is that you should always go into a situation with at least something resembling a plan. These guys didn't have a plan, or if they did, it got thrown out the window as soon as they started hitting each other. They just started flailing around a little bit, trying to get in hits, you know, and then not getting anything out of those hits. So you had go in with a plan. You know, think, okay, if I land this, I'm going to go into this. If I get this kind of set up, I'm going to set this up. Have, you know, I'm not going to say a flow chart because you don't want to get too predictable, but have some kind of setup for in your head to say, this is what I do in this situation. This is what I can do in this situation. Because if you don't have that kind of thought pattern going somewhere on some level, you get this. You get people failing to hit things. You get flailing going on because you're just panicking. You've got to stay with some kind of plan in mind, you know, based on the situation you're in.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And a lot of that comes into play, especially when you get put in a really bad position, like if you're getting locked down in the corner, or got, like, say, a Geef that just has you on, like, the hardest Oki of all time, and you need to get yourself out. A lot of characters, especially Balrog, for example, when he's knocked down by Geef, he's got a lot of problems, and a lot of grapplers in the game can capitalize on that. So having an exit strategy for that stuff really goes a long way, and it's all just figuring out what can I do when that happens. You know, for Balrog, he has a 3-frame jab. Using that on Wake Up obviously can give him a little space to get out. Obviously, you don't want to do it all the time because you can read that, but it's, you know, that rock, paper, scissors thing, that's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, have strategies for different positions that you get yourself in, whether that be good or bad. So, we could talk more on that some other time if we remember, but we have more videos to get to, and you need to learn more, as do y'all, because if I don't know these matchups going into EVO, I'm just gonna look like an idiot.
Well, that's why we're here, and I mean, what we're just talking about, that those strategies, those are all about learning. You can't get them without learning the matchups, learning the characters, understanding the options of both you and the enemy. You know, and not to be stereotypical, but art of war here. You know your enemy, know yourself, and you'll have a much better chance of winning.
Yeah, and a lot of that quote row goes deep into character knowledge and the like, because yeah, one of the longest things to learn when you're learning a fighting game is all of the characters, like, say that when, like, air quotes, because you don't need to know, like, the ins and outs of every single character, and you don't need to be able to be a master everyone if you were to, you know, play them on the controller end, but you do need to know what to look out for. That's, like, just that general opponent knowledge on that basis. It really goes a really long way. So just keep that in mind. Things to look out for, like with Geef, look out for being in SPD range when you probably shouldn't be in SPD range, or, you know, if he knocks you down, you really need to get out because he can destroy you from that position. Simple stuff like that. It's really not as complex as it seems. It's daunting, but it's really not that bad. Once you get a handle for a couple different characters, it's like, oh, there's kind of a general, you know, mold that I could fit them in. You know, rush down, don't get rushed down. keep your distance. Like, you know, if they're zoning, you need to get in on them. Don't let them lock you down. Stuff like that. But, as we get into our next match here, we got Aurora and the Guile. We got projectiles on both sides, albeit one being slightly better than the other. And, just really solid mix-ups and just death and destruction. So, KZA, this is kind of a tricky one. Both of these characters are arguably very, very good if you ask a large majority of people. So this could be a tough one to decide who could be the victor just based on character. So what's your feeling?
Of the grappler matchups, this is probably the most even for Guile. You know, she's got that projectile invincible sunset wheel, so she can, if she gets a read on a boom, she can just go straight through it and throw him. EX only though. She's got her own projectile, so she can, and she can't really play the fireball game, but she can create a space where it's hard for him to, you know, keep her out for a short period. And, you know, she's just more mobile than most of the other grapplers. She gets a lot, and once she's got him in the mix-up, you know, everyone hates that. So, of the grapplers, she's probably the worst for him. I'd say it's pretty even still, just because Guile still has so many options to get people back off of him and away from him. But it's not Geef versus Guile, I'll say that much.
Yeah. So, yeah, if there's going to be any grappler that Guile's going to face, it might as well be her. Actually, Mika might be a little easier for Guile to hang with, but, you know, then we're starting to get into deep discussion that's better reserved for the forums. But let's get into this matchup, because I know we're all just dying to see how this goes. Okay, get our on-field camera. Let's go to little Chinatown.
Pink theming though, that's some good luck.
Ooh. This really is pink theme, I didn't even notice that. Got some solid buttons from this Aurora. Loses the corner control, that could be a problem on the line.
I see that a lot in silvers. I don't really understand it. People trying to do the jump cross-ups in the corner and cornering themselves. Guys, don't do that. Don't corner yourself. The cross-up isn't worth it.
Yeah, I used to do that a lot. I honestly did it up until like gold, and then I started to realize I'm just screwing myself over.
Like, maybe you'll get the cross-up and the damage, but it's a thing to learn is that sometimes damage is not worth it if it's compared to position on the screen to get more damage and kill them. So Laura mixed up the hell out of that Guile. He was not doing an effective job of fighting her off. Let's see if he's picked anything up this second round.
Yeah, and this Guile doesn't really need to be rushing in. He's got to keep a strong zone because Laura can't do anything from a distance, hardly.
Yeah, he's approaching her and letting her get close, and then he's not fighting his way out of those situations well. Not really the best punish there, but it's a solid punish.
Still gonna get a stun, and this could very well be death, which it, yeah, probably will be. Yep, that is a quick death right there.
So we're seeing all the rounds we've seen are been real quick. Like I would say sub 20, sub 25. So
there we go.
You know, why is that? Because that the character who's losing isn't defending. Like, the only way you lose that fast, if you're not like getting completely overwhelmed somehow by, I don't know, you know, like a Geef throwing you 4 times in a row, is that your defense is not there. And that's not just defense as in blocking or backdashing or, you know, like even ducking, but what I mean is defense in terms of not letting the opponent start their offense. That means shutting them down as well as defending when you're not able to shut them down.
Yeah. Oh, he's not zoning. Guile's got a zone. Can't zone, he's gonna have a real hard time. The only reason he wouldn't have to zone ever is if he knew that he can go in and deal the damage, or if he's got his opponent in the corner and can just put him in, you know, them boom loops, them boom fruit loops, and just wreck his opponent for his life. But that's not the case here. He should have stayed back, Laura can't do anything from afar. Even her neutral game is meh. It's even a stretch to call it meh, honestly, if you ask me. So, like, yeah. Guile should have stayed further back. That's all I really have to say. There's really no excuse for that. He could have maybe not known the matchup. That case, some people don't know certain matchups. You know, there's some matchups I have issues with. Some characters I really don't know how to deal with. Like Dhalsim is one I have. You know, everyone has their bane in fighting games, and you know, yeah, that's really what it is. So just not well optimized play for the matchup, and it was really just a shame. Just a shame.
Yeah, let's go ahead and play it again because I want to go into what I mean by defense there a little bit because that's a thing a lot of new players struggle with. So right here, so here's where you start, throwing loops. Okay, he's already screwed up. She's in. What does he do now? He gets hit twice. He lets himself get hit low there because he was trying to do something, and then he immediately gets overheaded. So here's where he starts trying to get some defense going again. Long pokes keeps her out. Good flip keeps her out, and then he just goes in. He puts himself back in there, and immediately upon that, he starts switching back and forth and gets mixed up again. When you gain distance like that against a character like Laura, keep that distance. Don't just like sacrifice it immediately. You fought to get that positioning. Don't give it up.
Yeah, yeah, it's not very well optimized. I'm just kind of like speechless. I don't really know what more to say because it's just, you know, just stop going in. Guile.
Right there. That's what you want to do. Throw out some long limbs, keep her at range, and then he lets her in once, and then he stops blocking, he stops defending. You know, he starts doing the YOLO flash kicks. He loses his patience or he panics. Like you've got to have both components. When you get space, you can maintain space, and when stuff happens to you, you've got to be smart. You can't just try to throw more shit out. Like, yeah, that is the number one thing that kills like new people at this game, I feel, is just like trying to be too aggressive while not maintaining any sort of defense. And like Street Fighter V, people say it doesn't have any defense. It has enough defense that it really matters.
Yeah. But once you get a good handle of the defense, you start to realize, like, oh, you know, I can kind of hold myself. And then when you hear all these, you know, almost memes of there's no defense in Street Fighter V, there kind of is, maybe not as much, actually, probably. I don't know. I haven't really played a lot of the earlier Street Fighters. Like, I didn't play SF4. So, like, how are the defensive options in that game? Did you play that much, KZA?
I played a fair bit, and the difference was basically that your limbs tend to be longer. They tend to be faster, too, at the ranges as they were set for. And you had more options, like option selects and stuff you could do when someone was in your face that beat, like, 2 out of 3 options rather than, like, it being 50-50 or even 1 out of 3 guesses. So you just had more ability to keep people at the right range, and then more ability to get out of range again should something get in your face. So you had a lot more like longer neutral play, like. And but the thing is that like out of the characters in Street Fighter V, Guile is the one that plays most closely to that, right? He's got his long normals; they're pretty quick. He's got a lot of options. He's got a lot of ways to get you back out of his face. He's got, you know, crazy good fireballs. Like, of the characters, you know, he's the one who has to learn that style of play the most. So if you're going to play him, you've got to learn that style of defense. You can't just throw booms and you can't just throw normals. You got to know how to use both, and then also know when to go in for the kill and when you should just continue to maintain your space.
Yeah, you pretty much said that all needed to be said. The only thing I can add on is, you know, one thing I noticed was that this Laura knew that she could just get in on this Guile. because he wasn't really playing a good zoning game. He also wasn't throwing out very good normals, so she just smelled the blood in the water, got herself in, and once that happened, it was game over. All has to be said. So, that's all we really have to say on that match. So, we have reached about the halfway point of tonight's program. So, for anybody who's just joined us, how would y'all like learn how to play Street Fighter or Injustice or Tekken? As we have just a thing for you. If you haven't heard of us, we are New Challenger, and we teach video games, fighting games specifically. And the current ones that we support at the moment are Street Fighter V, as you're watching right now, you can probably guess, Injustice 2, and most recently, Tekken 7. If you ever wanted to learn how to play those games, and, you know, it could be you're just picking up the game for the first time, or you're picking up a fighting game for the first time, we can help you get up to a very good point where you can hold your own with, you know, 90-95% of the player base, and that's, you know, if you ask me, that's a pretty good majority right there. So come around our parts if you want to learn, because when I first started learning Street Fighter V, I wish there was something like this. And I do feel a bit of solace knowing that something like this exists now. So come around our parts, check us out, see what we're all about. So, let's get into our next video. Sure to be a doozy. Come on. Come on. There we go. Okay.
So a short break from our high-tier matchups for a moment.
Yeah, we have a nice, fresh in the game match right here between a Birdie and a Juri. And this is interesting because we got cans versus ground projectiles, bananas versus eye patches. And if I'm going to be honest, at this level and with these characters, this is a bit of a toss-up because, you know, Birdie is somewhat considered to be a little bit more beginner-friendly than Juri, and I have to tend to agree on that sentiment. So, KZA, who's got this? Because I don't play either of these people, and to be honest, the only thing I really know about him is how to beat him. That's really it.
Well, it's going to be one of those matches that, like you said, it's going to be very dependent on how good these guys actually are. I have to say that overall skill levels, I would say Birdie takes it just because his game is hard to counter for Juri. She depends a lot on poking and doing small amounts of damage while waiting for opportunity to unleash a bigger combo. And Birdie loves that game because his neutral's really strong. He's got those long-range chain throws to keep you honest. He can keep you out with cans and bananas. He loves playing that game. He's better at playing it, I think, than Juri. But at this level, it's anyone's game because they don't know how to play that game yet, I would guess.
Yeah. And we'll probably see some good, generally good normals, some specials, probably a lot more specials than used to at the silver, gold level. I feel like we're going to see quite a bit of Street Fighter 2, what I like to call it. So, let's see just how this goes. I know we're all just dying to see. Good. On-field camera.
Immediately Birdie goes for the chain leap. That's like the marker of the bad Birdie.
Like, you know, in bronze, you can't really blame him. I feel in that case it's like a 50-50.
It's true, but for those of you who are watching, please don't get in the habit of doing that. It's super unsafe to have any idea what's going on. Like, this Juri isn't really adequately punishing it, but it is like, you screw that up once and you're half dead.
Like an awful lot of jumping going on. This Birdie I don't ever see doing the crouch medium punch. He'd just be taking control of this match like nobody's business.
See, that was actually a fairly good pair of things there. He went for a meaty grab, and she EX reversaled it. That's good play. Everything else, not so much. Oh, catches her out of the air. So he's learning, but bad meaty timing.
Going for a lot of jump ins, just can't seem to stop.
You can see where people learn that habit right here. Neither of them is doing anything about those jump ins. They're not. He's kind of getting it, but like that Juri, she's not punishing his jump ins. So why shouldn't he stop jumping? And it's that kind of thing that creates those bad habits, and that's why you need to have people tell you those things, because like you're just playing at this level. It's like, well, it's working here. Why can't I get any higher? Because you can't see that flaw.
And we're just kind of seeing Juri just doing whatever she can, and just nothing just seems to be working. It's playing a little too reckless. Also, I don't know how to say reckless, but doesn't seem to be doing what she can.
She's not really converting her damage. Like I said, Juri depends on kind of poking and then doing lots of damage. And she just wasn't doing it before, but here we go. So let's talk about why you want to get combos and convert damage there. Let's rewind to that very last bit right there.
All right.
That last sequence that kills him.
All right.
So he gets a super off. He's like, okay, he's sitting pretty. He's got a quarter health left. Oh, he lands a throw. He's sitting really pretty now. He should be able to win this. So both people screw up here. So Juri gets that set up, doesn't go for any combos here. She just keeps sweeping him. If she had comboed off of that, I think that's a standing heavy kick, that double hitter, she could have killed him right there. Why is that important? Because just like she reversed that thing on him, because she didn't kill him, there's the potential for him to reverse it back on her. That is what getting combos right, getting that damage right does for you. It means that the opponent doesn't get that chance to turn it around.
Yeah, and yep, it's a really good point. Learn your combos. You learn your combos, that's just more damage you can deal. It's more guaranteed damage that you can deal. That's really what it's all about. You learn your target combos. Those are just like normals, but they hit a lot harder. After target combos, you start to learn how to cancel into stuff. They're like target combos, they're a little bit more complex, but you do more damage. And then after you learn how to cancel into stuff, then you can start looking into setups. You can start looking into set play. And you can start looking into doing mix-ups. And once you get into that realm, and that's like higher, really high level play, which we can get into at some point, maybe even this next match we get. But point is, it's all just big stepping stones to figure out how you can deal more damage. But those beginning to intermediate levels, it's, just learning the execution of quote-unquote basic stuff. Once you learn the target combos, those are easy enough, but once you figure out the canceling, then it's like, okay, now I'm starting to get a hang on how to play some, solid Street Fighter and in general, just fighting games, because that's consistent across almost all fighting games. Get to that point, then it's like, okay, I'm a fighting game player, I could do this. And, it's so important to learn that stuff, and it's, that, coupled with a few different things, then you got a really good tool set at your disposal to work with. So, that's all I really got to say on this match. KZA, you got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, and at certain stages of that growth, certain characters will seem better or worse or cheap. Like when you don't know what a mix-up or a good Oki setup or a meaty is, playing against someone like Zangief feels like you're just getting dunked over and over. You really have to stick with it and try to understand what the other guy is doing. And that's what we keep harping on here when people don't like change it all. They keep doing the same thing from round to round. Like, always try to look out for what your opponent is doing. And if you don't understand how to counter it, that way you know after the match to go, okay, he kept hitting me with this thing. You know, he did this. What was he doing, and what do I do about it next time?
Yeah, and like you said, people do things for a reason, and in the earlier ranks it could be seen as they're just doing random stuff, but there is a general reason for why they're doing something. If you see a Ken doing a bunch of DPs online, they know that it's an effective move. People aren't going to block it as much. And obviously it works for them most of the time, obviously. Until they hit like silver or high bronze, and then people start blocking them, and it's like, okay, this isn't working, time to figure out something that does. But, now, yeah, there's a reason for why people like Geefs go for strong Oki. It's because it works. His game plan revolves around that, more or less. Now, if he can knock someone down, he's going to stay on him. That's just the way it is. And what I don't like to see is when I see all these players that they say, oh, this is stupid, brain dead, whatever. You know, if something's brain dead, something is stupid, but it works, it's not stupid. You just need to figure out how to beat it. And I'm not calling anybody stupid, but, you know, the Guile's just throwing out booms from a distance and you keep on getting hit by him. It's not dumb, and it's not brain dead. It's working. It's obviously working because you're not winning. And as a fighting game player, it's about learning how to overcome those situations. And that's part of the fun, too. Learning how to, you know, jump those hurdles. Learning how to, you know, get around that, because when you do, it's like, yeah, this is the accomplishment. Kinda nice. But that's a whole nother discussion for another day. So, with that said, we have a little bit of a treat for you guys. It will be a first for this show. You'll see. This is an interesting matchup. Very, very interesting. And I know I'm gonna like it because you'll see for obvious reasons. So, yeah, we got a Bison and a Dhalsim. They also look to be in Diamond, which is interesting because this is not silver, or bronze, or even gold. These guys know how to play, and they know how to play really well. Why did I choose these two characters? Because they're characters people need to know how to play against. Simple as that. So, KZA, we got diamonds here. We got some high-level, optimized Street Fighter. Both of these guys know how to play. They know what's going on. How do you see this going on as a topical matchup that we could very well see at EVO?
Maybe even these two guys, who knows? They're from the right countries, they could drop in general, I gotta give this one to Bison because, you know, Sim is very dependent on keeping people out and not getting his limbs caught. Bison has strong tools to catch limbs and crush counter them, and with slide and head stomp and his V-triggered teleports, has a lot of tools for staying in on Sim and then staying plus near Sim in ways that Sim has a very difficult time countering, especially compared to some other characters. If the Sim can keep him out, you know, the Sim will slowly win. Bison only has the one projectile, and it's, you know, EX. But if Bison, you know, can play smart and get that opportunity to get in on there, he's just one of the hardest guys for Dhalsim to get off of him, I think.
Yeah, I would say, like, Bison can just stay on Sim if he doesn't get stupid. I would say Balrog's somewhat the same. You know, Balrog can get inside and just harass Sim a bunch. Now, if you get a Sim that's knows what to do against the Balrog, then yeah, be able to figure himself out. And that goes with saying against Bison too. So this will be interesting. I'm really interested to see how this goes down for everyone else is. Let's get into it. See what happens. So I already see Bison get inside here. See if he can keep it. It's a nice combo off. Get that distance again.
This Sim's doing some online simmy kind of stuff. He's being kind of aggressive. He's floating at him, trying to, let him be offensive. And I really still don't feel that's a good trick in this setup, because you screw that up against Bison and right there, that happens to you.
Yeah, and just with that, a simple wake-up button that just took almost half of Sim's life, and, that's a really basic thing you learn when playing against Bison. You should not press buttons on wake-up. Get burned on it.
This Sim is playing very aggressively, like trying to go in there, teleporting at him. That is not the strategy he really ought to be using here. And I think he's kind of realized that, because you notice he's now playing a lot slower.
Sim is just playing very aggressively, which I'm somewhat surprised, but also I can understand, if he's on offense, then this Bison obviously can't do anything. Also gotta be very careful, because the Sim could be very dead very fast.
Yeah, the reason Sim offense isn't really smart a lot of the time is that Sim. Oh, that was a really doofy ultra, but he doesn't punish it. Sim melts a lot faster than you do generally if he's on offense. So if he goes on offense and guesses wrong and you get him, he's going to take a lot more damage than he would have gotten out of that offense.
It's a very risky game, but if the zoning game doesn't work for Sim, he has to improvise, because, if it's not working, it's not working.
Yeah, and my complaint about this Sim play is that he isn't really trying to zone for very long. He's always going for those cross teleports. He's going for, see that really close fireball.
Yeah, that was a very close dash. Didn't need to happen.
Mashed out wake up CA. Like, this Sim is, honestly, this doesn't look like Diamond Sim play, or if it is, it's like super online Sim play. Yeah, see, there's the stomp to get in above Sim. Like I said, he's got to be really careful. Bison's got a lot of options, but
this isn't over yet. Very close teleport, and yep.
Yeah, that's it again right there. He went in on the offensive and immediately paid for it, because his offense isn't that good.
Yep, and all right. So now the deliberations. Yeah, the Sim was all it takes for Sim to die is just a couple wrong moves, and this is a matchup where it takes even fewer moves to mess up, because now we saw some very close dash-ins that didn't need to happen, and this Bison was savvy to it, threw a knee out, and converted for like 40% damage, and that can happen. Sim's gotta be super careful in this matchup. He did a good job of staying out of the corner, I will give him that, but it was just the few errant plays that happened that made the Sim die very quickly. And when you play someone that fragile, you have to be super careful, and I understand these are Diamond players, and we can get all judgmental and the like, and very critical. There are some obvious things that we see that are issues. Hindsight's always 20/20. Things happen in the moment, and that's all really that is. And I'm sure whoever played this, if they look back on the replay, they would say probably the same things we are. But, in general, this Sim, he was playing a little too aggressively when he shouldn't have been. He played like 95% aggressive. 95% of that aggressiveness was warranted. It was working. But just like the very few mistakes he made just burned him. Or Yoga burned him. So, KZA, what do you think about this? Yeah.
I mean, so it's just kind of the nature of Dhalsim, I think, that some people are going to want to play him aggressively, because he has has some very, neat feeling options for aggression. Mix up teleports, the ability to go on the offensive, knock you over, and then meaty you from across the screen. Just some very, very interesting offensive options. And yes, you should go offensive on everybody occasionally, or even the majority of the time, because it does get you the damage, it does get you the rounds. But you have to know when to back off on offense. That is what I think the separating point between silver, goldish, and above is starting to learn when to stop being on offense. In order to get out of bronze, you need to learn how to defend against people playing stupid. In order to get out of silver, you need to learn how to get your own damage in. Getting out of kind of that high silver and gold and above is starting to learn how to get your own damage in and then safely get back out and set up your next set without risking yourself so much. And for whatever reason, this sim did a lot of stuff that left his tail hanging in the air for Bison's crush counter.
Yeah, and yep. This Bison, he played... Yeah, we're going to go back on the topic of defense. He was actually playing very good defense. Now, the sim, when he was applying pressure, he didn't let his guard down, and he let off the guard when he needed to. There were some problems though, that, out of nowhere, a critical art could have been a mistake, could have been deliberate, who knows. But, that was a problem. Luckily for him, it wasn't punished. But, overall, the Bison played a pretty good defensive game, considering this went down to the final round and almost 2-3 hits away from being dead apiece. So, that goes to show anybody, learn how to block, be a reversal, all those defensive things. There may not be a lot of it in this game, but if you can actually master that stuff, it goes so far in your fighting game career. Just as important as learning your combos, your target combos, all that stuff. So just keep that in mind. See somebody who's just going in on you, just block. Learn general anti-airs, be a reversal, know when to do that. And you'd be surprised how well you can keep someone out and just frustrate them. Play that long game. I like playing long game. I think it's fun getting people's heads and screwing around with them. Try it out. It's fun. Especially against rushdown characters. Nothing gets them more angry than, having them not get damage. All that stuff. Yeah, KZ, I'm sure you know all about that. You play Geef, you're pretty much the, B-skill machine. It's like, we're taking this round 90 seconds.
I mean, to be honest, I play a fairly aggressive Geef. I like trying to end rounds quickly, which means that sometimes I do dumb stuff and get owned, which is why I'm so critical of it, because it's my flaw too. So when I see it, I've got to note it, because it's also a reminder to myself that, hey, that's that same dumbass thing you did 3 weeks ago when you got bopped by that guy who punished you every time you went for a cheeky SPD. Everyone's got their flaws, right? We're being critical of them because that's what the show is for, to spot flaws and tell people how to avoid them. But, don't take it as us trying to be cruel about it. It's just the nature of how people play is that they've got these weaknesses.
It's beginner breakdowns. We take the beginner and then break them down like they're just smoldering ashes and then build them back up. Kappa. But I think that's pretty much all we have to say on this. Thank you everybody for coming around. This has been a very fun episode of Beginner Breakdowns, but we will not be here next week as per usual, since we've moved on to a every other week schedule. Plus, next week is EVO. I won't even be here. I will be however many miles away Vegas is from here. I'll actually be leaving on Thursday, so I'm very excited for that. And we'll all enjoying the EVO festivities, whether it be at the location or from home, where we'll all be watching to see what happens. And
be sure to cheer on our NCH EVO competitors, yourself, Encore, I believe Chuncho, Mount Lover. Did I miss anybody?
believe Icy Knee is getting out there too. I haven't heard a lot from him, but he will be there. He is in the brackets.
So that's four of our very own NCH players and coaches at Evo. So watch for them in the brackets playing Street Fighter V. Be sure to cheer them on.
Yep, and I'll be wearing my NCH shirt. And if I lose in the first round, I will be the guy angrily throwing chairs at everybody and security dragging out. So just keep an eye out on that. I'm sure people have their phones out. I have my nice, moment of shame or glory, whatever you take it. But
as long as you don't jump on the stage after Chris Chi wins Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or something, I think we'll be fine.
Oh, nobody plays Marvel 3 anymore. Come on. Oh god. But that's going to do it from us. Thank you everybody for coming around. I'm Encore. As always, with me is KZA. Everybody have a good night. Everybody have a good weekend. Be safe. Don't press stupid buttons. Don't wake up DP. Be smart.